Have you ever felt guilty about skipping the gym all week, then tried to make up for it with one brutal weekend workout? Or maybe you're the opposite, someone who prefers moving just a little bit every single day. The question that keeps coming up is this: which approach actually works better for losing body fat? The answer might surprise you, and it could completely transform your fitness journey. Let me share a story that opened my eyes to this debate. Two close friends of mine decided to lose weight together. Sarah committed to intense 2-hour gym sessions every Saturday morning. She'd push herself to the limit with heavy weights and high-intensity cardio, then barely move for the rest of the week. Jenny took a different route. She simply walked for 30 minutes every day, no exceptions. Same goal, completely different strategies. After 3 months, when they measured their body fat percentages, the results were absolutely shocking. But before I reveal what happened, you need to understand what the latest science tells us about exercise frequency and fat loss. A groundbreaking study from Harvard Medical School analyzed data from 120,000 adults over several years. The researchers discovered something truly fascinating about how our bodies respond to different exercise patterns. For low-intensity activities like walking or gentle cycling, the benefits kept increasing up to about 200 minutes per week. People in this group saw their mortality risk drop by 31% compared to inactive individuals. However, when it came to high-intensity exercise, the story changed dramatically. The benefits peaked at around 100 minutes per week. Here's the really interesting part. When people pushed beyond 150 minutes of high-intensity exercise weekly, their risk of cardiovascular disease actually started climbing again. Think about that for a moment. More wasn't better. In fact, more became worse. Swedish researchers at the Sports Health Sciences University wanted to dig deeper into this phenomenon. They recruited 11 physically active adults and put them through a rigorous high-intensity interval cycling program. During weeks 1 and 2, the results looked fantastic. Blood sugar control improved significantly, and the mitochondria in their muscle cells, those tiny energy factories, were producing power at incredible levels. Everyone was thrilled. Then week 3 arrived, and something unexpected happened. The participants continued their daily high-intensity workouts, but their bodies started rebelling. Mitochondrial energy production crashed to just 60% of what it had been in week 2. Blood sugar control, which had improved so nicely, deteriorated rapidly. These weren't out-of-shape beginners, these were trained individuals. Yet their bodies were crying out for rest. The conclusion was clear: even fit people can overtrain when they push too hard too often. Now let's flip the script and talk about daily light exercise. A study published in the prestigious journal Obesity examined what researchers called weekend warriors, people who crammed all their weekly physical activity into 1 or 2 sessions. They compared these folks to people who spread the same total amount of exercise throughout the week. Both groups hit the recommended 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity, just distributed differently. The weekend warriors did lose weight, which might seem like good news. But when researchers looked closer, they found important differences. The people who exercised more frequently throughout the week maintained more muscle mass, showed better metabolic markers, and reported finding it easier to stick with their routines long term. Most importantly, their body composition improvements were more dramatic, even when total weight loss was similar. Researchers at Edith Cowan University made an observation that really challenges conventional thinking. They found that exercise frequency might actually matter more than total exercise volume. In other words, exercising for 20 minutes, 6 days a week could be more effective than doing 2 60-minute sessions weekly. Even though the total time is the same, your body responds better to consistent, regular stimulation than to sporadic, intense effort. Understanding how your body burns fat during different types of exercise is crucial. When you're doing low to moderate intensity activities like brisk walking or easy cycling, your body preferentially burns fat for fuel. A comprehensive 2024 review of multiple studies confirmed that the lower the exercise intensity, the higher the percentage of calories that come from fat oxidation. During high-intensity exercise, your body switches gears and primarily burns carbohydrates instead. This is why so many fitness experts recommend longer, moderate-intensity sessions specifically for fat loss. But hold on, because high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, throws an interesting wrench into this equation. Research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that HIIT produced approximately 28.5% greater body fat reduction compared to traditional steady-state cardio. How is this possible if high-intensity exercise burns more carbs than fat? During the actual workout, the answer lies in something called the afterburn effect, or excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. After an intense HIIT session, your metabolism stays significantly elevated for up to 24 hours. Your body continues burning extra calories long after you've finished exercising, and a good portion of those calories come from fat stores. It's like getting bonus fat burning while you're sitting on the couch or sleeping at night. A fascinating 24-week study compared two groups of overweight women. Both groups exercised for exactly 300 minutes per week, but they distributed this time very differently. Group 1 exercised for 50 minutes 6 days per week. Group 2 exercised for 100 minutes 3 days per week. Same total time, different frequency. Which group do you think lost more weight? Surprisingly, the lower frequency group, exercising just 3 days weekly, achieved superior results. They lost an average of 9.58 kilograms, compared to 7.78 kilograms in the higher frequency group. Their body mass index decreased by 3.62 points versus 2.97 points. Waist circumference, perhaps the most important measure for health, reduced by 9.36 centimeters compared to 7.86 centimeters. Why would exercising less frequently produce better results? The researchers identified several factors. First, the 3-day-per-week group had more recovery time between sessions. This allowed them to train at genuinely high intensities, without accumulating fatigue. Second, their bodies had adequate time to repair and adapt between workouts. Remember, you don't actually get fitter during exercise. You get fitter during recovery when your body rebuilds stronger than before. A massive meta-analysis published in 2024 examined 116 randomized controlled trials involving 6,880 adults with overweight or obesity. The researchers wanted to determine the optimal dose of aerobic exercise for fat loss. Their findings were remarkably consistent. Body weight, waist circumference, and body fat all decreased in a linear fashion as exercise duration increased up to 300 minutes per week. However, they identified a critical threshold: at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise weekly was necessary to achieve clinically meaningful reductions in waist circumference and body fat. Another study specifically examined exercise frequency, rather than just total volume. Participants were divided into groups based on how often they exercised each week: less than twice weekly, 3 to 4 times weekly, and 4 or more times weekly. After 8 weeks, only the group exercising 4 or more times per week showed statistically significant reductions in body fat mass. The take-home message: frequency matters tremendously. For resistance training enthusiasts, a 2024 study revealed something unexpected. Researchers compared full-body workouts performed 5 days weekly against split-body routines, where different muscle groups were trained on different days. Both groups performed identical total weekly volume, meaning the same number of sets and exercises overall. The full-body group, training each muscle group 5 times per week, lost significantly more fat mass than the split-body group, training each muscle once weekly. The mechanism appears related to greater total energy expenditure throughout the week. From repeatedly engaging large muscle groups, your transformation begins with a single step, quite literally. Today, take the stairs instead of the elevator. Park farther from the entrance. Walk during your lunch break instead of sitting. These small daily choices, repeated consistently, compound into remarkable changes over weeks and months. The best exercise program isn't the flashiest or most extreme one you see on social media. It's simply the one you'll actually stick with for the long haul. Make that choice today, and 6 months from now, you'll wish you'd started sooner.